Hey y'all, I'm JamesWright and welcome back to Wizards News. Today I want to talk to you about Portkeys. There are several things that I've recently learned about them, but there are a lot of things that I've known but I thought were common knowledge and apparently they're not. So let's actually look at some of these specifics, and some of them are really surprising. Now, first up, I want to test something that I recently found out about.
Okay, I gotta break in here for a moment because this is a topic that came to me from Anthony Constant. I just watched his video and he's another YouTuber you've got to take a look at. He does a lot of things with like multiple group fortresses, so you can actually see him playing with other people and showing some of the strategy, and a lot of great information on his channel, and one of the most undervalued channels on YouTube. And he was tipped off to the idea that only the first Raxpert is the one that matters. So if you get into a Portkey and you get the first Raxpert and for some reason you're dumped out, you will still get everything else in the Portkey. So once you get that first Raxpert, everything is calculated as to what the next Raxperts will be. So it doesn't matter which Raxpert you just pick one and you'll get all the items. That way if you really want to speed it up, you can get one, leave the Portkey and get your items out of it. But I wanted to test this because I don't want to just be jumping out of the Portkey and then suddenly I don't get everything else.
So to do that, I've taken pictures of all of my XP, all of my family XP, and then all of the potion ingredients ahead of time. We can go in there, we can open up one thing, and then walk away and see what comes out of it. So let's open up a Portkey, place it right here, and then step through. Now in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick one, and then I'm going to step out. So let's pick this one over here. And then we're going to walk out of the Portkey and see what happens. Oh no, I left my Portkey.
So we can go look through all of our pictures, and before I had 12 wormwood and now I have 13 wormwood. Okay, I got one wormwood. Whoopee. Also before I had 35 dittany, and then afterwards I had 37 dittany. Hey, two more. Whoopee. And the one Raxpert I did get had 300 XP, and with my Barufio's Brain Elixir that brings it up to 600, which is right in line with my XP beforehand was 7,565, and afterwards it was 8,165, so I got 600 XP. And the other item I got was 80 Brilliant Family XP, so it wasn't a great Portkey, but I did get all those other things. Even though I only saw the 300 XP from the first Raxpert, I still got all those other things. Now one other thing I want to test, which I haven't had a chance to yet, is to get into the Portkey and then leave it immediately and see if I get anything from it. And I don't think I will, so it would be burning a Portkey. But if anyone wants to test that and let me know how it goes, good on you. Now here's an interesting one. A lot of people don't know if you accidentally skip the animations of the rewards and you jump down here to the end, then you can actually scroll back up and go up and see them afterwards. So they don't disappear, they're still up there. And one of the nice things is once you get up there, you can see the difference between what bonuses you got and why you got them. Whereas down at the bottom it just tells you the total of everything. Up above you can tell the difference between what you got from the Barufio's Brain Elixir as opposed to what you got without it. One little tip that I thought was fairly obvious, but apparently a lot of people out there don't know, is that if you use Barufio's Brain Elixir before getting into the Portkey, it will double the XP you get out of it. Not the family XP, but it will double the regular XP. And this is huge because some of these Portkeys really pump out a lot of XP. One particular one I had here gave me 5,600 XP regular. With the Barufio's Brain Elixir, that bumped it up to over 11,000 XP. And that's almost an entire hour's worth of grinding XP done in just a couple minutes. So if you have Portkeys that are ready to open, hold on to them for a few minutes until you get ready to use a Barufio's Brain Elixir, such as just going into a fortress or starting to grind collecting foundables. Before doing that, then do all of your Portkeys and make sure that those are covered under your Barufio's Brain Elixir, because there is a lot of XP in these things. Now, if you are a runner like I am with all these bibs over here, I do a lot of running, and so that means I can open up a lot of Portkeys because you can run them off really quickly. But one of the things I want to do is when I'm out running, I'd actually like to be able to open up a Portkey, use it, and then get the next one, but I don't want to stop for running. And so what I actually do is I turn off the AR, and that allows me to open up Portkeys and move the camera around and click Raxperts while I'm still running. You can also do this in moving vehicles and other things like that. Normally what happens is you have to actually step through with the AR and then you have to move around, and if you move too far it bumps you out of the Portkey and you lose what you've been doing. So if you go into your suitcase and then hit the gears for settings, you can go down to the camera section and there's a little thing for AR. Turn off the AR and now you can use a Portkey even when you're moving, walking, running, and going around. And now when you want to open a Portkey, you can touch it like normal and then you will automatically be pulled through the portal into the position. Now the downside is you can't get down and look for things and work around corners. You can only pivot and spin the camera around, which is okay, and you can still get most of the Raxperts that way, and you can do it completely without having to actually walk around and envision the room. I'm surprised at how many people walk into a room, they step through the portal, and then they hold their phone and they stand in one place and move around. You can actually go into these rooms and experience them and look around corners and behind things. You can actually get down low and go up high, and in this case I'm actually walking up a hill and it reads me as moving up in it and everything changes perspective up and down. Some of the Raxperts are actually hiding behind corners and you can't see them from a static position, so you can look around and find them in interesting locations. You do have to be careful, there is a box on the ground, and if you step outside that box, then you leave the Portkey. So keep an eye on that blue line and don't step over it. If you're ever wondering what foundables you can get from Portkeys, there's actually a really cool infographic put out by the Orange Wizard, and I'll leave a link to it down below, but here you can see it. This is really kind of geek out onto it, because there are a lot of things that come from Portkeys or in the wild, and there's some things that come from Portkeys or just in the fortresses, and there are a couple things that are just Portkeys. And so this is kind of a good thing to know. If you're looking for a particular type of Portkey, you can tell what room they come from. I was hoping to get footage of the new Honeydukes. I'm sorry I wasn't able to get a Portkey in time for this video. Probably sometime in the future, but it still follows all the other ones and is the same experience. It's just there's different places to hide and a new thing to actually go around and experiment. So I definitely say the next time you're on a Portkey, spend the time and get to know it and look around corners and play with things and see what's in there. It is a really cool experience. Probably one of the most common questions I get about Portkeys are there particular Raxperts to click on? There are some that are up high and you go into the brilliant events, there's some up by the moon and there's some around corners and things like that, and it really doesn't seem like that is important. As I said before, the first one you click on determines what everything else is in the room you get. So after that, it really doesn't matter which Raxpert you click, they're all going to give you the same thing. Now, as with a lot of things in the game, I really feel we're just looking at the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Portkeys. We've seen a lot of other items that have been popping up in the code and other types of Portkeys and other locations being hinted at. We've heard people talking about possibly looking at Dumbledore's office, and different types of Portkeys, as right now everything is a boot, but what if it's a deflated soccer ball or a tea kettle or other things like that? There are a lot of things that can go into these Portkeys, and this is going to be a fun part of the game and going to experience different locations. So I'm really excited about the amount of work that actually goes into these and programming and designing them. It is really, really cool. Now, one other thing is the potion ingredients that you get from Portkeys. You can get any potion ingredient from Portkey, but there are a few specific ones that you get occasionally that you can only get from Portkeys. Number one, powdered dragon's claw. You can only get it from Portkeys and it's extremely valuable. This is something you need for Barufio's brain elixir, and when you get it, hold on to it, do not delete it. Number two is hermit crab shell, very rare, and you only get them from Portkeys, and this is something you need for your Dwaddledroft. And number three is unicorn hair, only in Portkeys, very valuable, and you need it for your Potentistimulo. So Portkeys are a lot of fun, and there are so many different things coming in and out of this that I'm really excited about this and looking forward to the future on them. So if you have any other thoughts or ideas or tips or things that I didn't talk about, let me know down in the comments below, and I'd love to start a discussion down there and work through some other things. Maybe I'll be doing an update video in the future if there's anything that's like, oh yeah, I completely forgot to say that. Also, if you did like the video, please like, comment, share, subscribe, ring the bell, or think about becoming a patron on Patreon. Those really do mean a lot to me, and thank you for that. So I think that's about it for today, and until next time, have a magical day. A chocolate frog is like a real-life Portkey because when you open it up, you never know where it's going to take you. And this time, it's going to take me to Godric Gryffindor. Ooh, that's kind of cool. This particular one is going to a patron on Patreon who just asked for one.